All right. Yeah, I think we finally sorted it out now. I think we are live, and I see people joining. A lot of people are really looking forward to this session, and I think it's a necessary session for us to really unpack what happened. But I think the big thing, maybe as a point of introduction, we've got the CEO of Nikon. Maybe Grant, introduce yourself. So you also the CEO of Premier Group. How does that work?
Yeah, so basically, I'm actually the CEO of Premium Brand Distributors, and under that
Yeah.
we've got multiple brands. Of one of them, which is Nikon. So we distribute and look after the brand for Southern Africa. So we look after South Africa and the neighboring countries, in essence.
All right, all right. And then how has it been? I mean, how has your brands been affected by COVID? Before we get to tonight's topic, I'd just like to get an understanding of how the business is doing from a COVID reaction space.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've all been affected with COVID, and the brands that I represent have been, as well as all our employees, it's been tough. It really has been. Compound with that, we've had some economic challenges over the last few years, which again we've put things into place to make sure that we're both resilient and robust, which has done us in good stead of recent times. But that being said, it hasn't been easy. The one thing that has been in our favor is that we operate very much in a consumer electronics type space, which by nature is dynamic and is in constant movement. So you have to be able to duck and weave and move with the times. That's for sure. Over and above that, one thing I've realized about myself and fellow South Africans is that we are a resilient nation and we fighters. That is for sure. And I do believe that at the end of 2020, we'll look back and realize that we've come out a stronger community. Yeah.
And now you represent or you distribute an instrument that is very important to creatives, being the photography community. What is your opinion on the growth of the photography community in South Africa and in Africa? Recently, we've seen guys like Trevor Sturman work with Beyonce on Black is King. What is your role and your view on the development of especially Black photographers in the country?
It's critical. So I mean, we saw the Black is King movement, and I think before it was launched, there were some concerns on how Africa would be depicted. But once the movie came out, it was an amazing success, and I think that it's an amazing opportunity for African content creators at the moment. As you say, Trevor Sturman is presented with a fantastic opportunity. But the opportunity is one thing. He delivers fantastic work, and he's got a particular signature. And I think for content creators that can have that unique signature and showcase the African story, it puts them in a league of their own, and that hasn't been tapped into globally.
Yeah. Now our conversation started at a very difficult time, something that the country is experiencing now with the clicks, and the racial tension brought about, the mistakes that brands have made publicly, is something that we are addressing as an industry. So maybe let's talk about that. In your opinion, what happened with the Nikon work that was publicly rejected by many South Africans?
Well, first off the bat is that it wasn't communicated properly, and I do apologize in terms of offending people. It wasn't a true reflection of who we are as a company or as a brand. There's a far greater story. And but before that, I think we have to just take accountability, and I apologize off the bat It wasn't our intention to offend people, and I can understand how it was taken. And that being said, is that you and I have had many conversations in terms of the road forward. And what it has afforded us is that it's opened up conversations that wouldn't have occurred if it didn't. You and me particularly have many discussions and have discussed some exciting initiatives going forward.
So maybe while we are there, this platform was set up as a platform for creatives to create dialogue, as a platform to get access to industry leaders. And a lot of the people that I've been talking to kind of want to get to the beginning of that, to say, how did we get there, Grant? What is the thought process that ends up delivering work like that? Do you have an account of what was the road that led to that type of work?
Yeah, absolutely. So after the fact, we did unpack it and took it very, very seriously, and have put things in place to ensure that that doesn't occur again. Going forward, we need to be more inclusive. I mean, that's the fact, is that we need to make sure that we go into consultation. And I think even you and me had a discussion in terms of campaigns going forward, in terms of how to address it, and involving smaller upcoming agencies that are young and vibrant, and that can offer us a diverse perspective.
And a lot of people are interested. I mean, we've seen with the Clicks debacle, we've seen that people now resigned. I sent you a message of the team that has actually resigned. And now a lot of people, including myself, are looking at the consequences of brands that continuously represent, especially Black people, in this way. What has happened internally at Nikon about the team that led to that mistake? Has anyone resigned? Has anyone been fired? Because a lot of the people need to hear that. There's one thing apologizing, but what has been the consequence of the people that did request that work and approve that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it has been addressed severely, and in terms of internationally, we have discussed it and put measures in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Just to interrupt you there, I'm seeing comments saying your audio is very bad. So a lot of the people can't hear your audio. I wonder if you've got earphones, because everyone is seemingly missing a large part of the conversation.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
I think that's much better. We didn't want to lose a lot of this as we discuss it. I'm seeing questions as they get up, and something that I would want to say. So you are still explaining the consequences that happened to the people that approved the work?
Yeah, so I mean, as we took our time to review what happened as it unfolded, a very similar stance is taken in terms of understanding where the issues happened, and we have taken it extremely seriously, and we've got our internal processes and disciplines that we have employed, and that will continue to run.
Okay, so there is definitely consequence, because a lot of the people are saying, brands do these mistakes, they apologize, and then they get away with it. Someone was saying in a group, if this happened again, would you yourself as a CEO step down like we've seen other CEOs doing? Because is it taken that seriously, and would you, if something like this happens again, step down in your position because of the gravity it has on the market?
So I think, from our interactions, I've taken accountability, and I always take accountability by my management style. So I do believe this will not happen again. I think what we've put into place and the plan we put into place will not allow this to happen again. So I'm quite confident that the the road ahead, we will not encounter this again.
Great. So I think that is a good point, because I think the consequences of having these mistakes need to lead to very severe consequences. And in the case of clicks, we've seen resignation. So that is what. So after and you know, I was at pains to make sure that we have this discussion, because I think it's very important for the creatives that have contributed in this movement of the ban, and more specifically, not to represent myself as the only person that is leading this. There's a lot of people that were tweeting, and for me, I have no financial interest or anything except making sure that the people that need the voice have the voice, and I think that's the platform. So take us on a journey, Grant. What has happened after that? What are some of the concrete measures that you've put in place going forward?
So I think what needs to be understood is that this was a single campaign, although it was a badly executed one. Prior to that, we had a strong plan going forward, and since this all unfolded, we've got really exciting initiatives planned. The challenge, I think even you and I spoke about, is that as individuals, we've only got so far a reach. And we're trying to transcend past that. So the question is, how do we attract creatives that they come to us and we're able to showcase their work and include them in the brand and help elevate them? And finding young, dynamic content creators is where we're going to be focusing our efforts. So
And now there was something that was also asked, I think, before we get to the solutions, on the apology. Now, we've seen brands make these mistakes and apologize and kind of carry on as business as usual. Kenzie, from one of the brand experts and marketing leaders in the industry, was asking me earlier, how could you have handled that better? Because the initial apology was rejected. When you look back at how you and your team handled the situation, as a point of advice, even for future people that find themselves in this situation, how do you think you could have handled this whole situation better?
So I understand that, you know, as a globally we want quick fixes, and I think the first go-to was to immediately respond. But with international brands that have certain protocols in place, it actually affords us the time to actually listen to what's going on, listening to the voice of the people, to consider what they said, and not just simply put a band-aid on it for the sake of putting an apology out, but to be realistic in terms of what we're putting out, and know that we're putting out a plan that isn't just words, you know, something hard and concrete, a plan that is inclusive. And yes, it took you know, we were criticized for taking our time, but it afforded us the time to actually listen, get the feedback, go into the individual comments, get a holistic understanding of the sentiment.
Okay, and then you know, that has led to certain commitments. That has led to certain way forwards, and we were just about to get on that. And maybe explain that, because I think a lot of people that I'm constantly engaging with are interested in, okay, there was a mistake made. What are the measures that have been taken to, one, transform your organization, two, what are the measures to make sure that you are more inclusive, and what can we start holding you to account for going forward?
So in terms of our organization, I don't think diversity is ever arrived at. I don't think that you ever arrive and say, right, I'm here. It's something that has to be continually reviewed and adjusted, and that is something that we've taken extremely seriously. We looked at all levels of our business, and we've highlighted key positions within our business and mapped that going forward, just to make sure that we are representative. Going forward, in terms of the influences that we affiliate with, this has been a road that we've been on for some time. And unfortunately, this campaign took attention away from it. And maybe we haven't, and yes, we haven't been screaming loud enough about it, which we should have been promoting and showing this is what we're busy doing. So in terms of going forward, you'll see in coming months and years in terms of what the rollout plan would be. And you have to look back to the history, and this is not an isolated thing. So now we've been called on it, and now we're quickly scuttling. If we look way back to when I was a boy, what I remember Nikon, in terms of the struggle, and the brand was affiliated, the movie of the Bang Bang Club. And I mean, I've even shared videos that we've done previously where we have actually showcased potential, where a victim of Tom, for instance, who actually had a school in Soweto teaching the underprivileged, and he is uplifting the community. And coming forward, even as recent as May this year during lockdown, we've got involved in initiatives like the Luminaries, part of Lamppost, and there are a whole lot of these initiatives that we actually at fault for not showcasing and pushing out, and our fault is that potentially we've been a bit quiet, and that's what we aim to change, is that we actually want to show both the history and what led, and going forward.
And you know, there's a lot of discussion around transformation. Now, from a leader such as yourself, what does transformation mean for you and for your organization?
So, I mean, for us, is that we need to be inclusive.
Sorry, Grant. Apparently, there's a secondary device that you might have. And a lot of the people are really complaining about the echo. Do you have another device that is on there? Because a lot of people are missing out on a lot of the stuff, right?
I don't know how that is. I don't have another device. Let's see. How's the audio now?
Guys, please
getting feedback.
There are a lot of people are complaining about the feedback. But maybe let's carry on. If it's better, guys, please say. And again, I don't want to make this my session. I want to make it the session of everyone who's listening. People are saying it's still echoing. I don't know what it is. I've got advice to try disconnect earphones, and I think you have. I have as well. All right. Maybe let's try again and see if it works. Maybe it's on our side. And it's a pity, because this is a very good conversation about how brands that find themselves in these type of situations can pivot out. And I think you know, ever since we started that, and there was a question earlier. So the way creatives, especially Black creatives, resulted in instituting a boycott. And Kuli was asking what was the impact of that, if anything, and what pushed you to act. And Kuli was just asking that earlier on. Maybe as we test out the audio, maybe you can answer that before we get to the initiatives that you've taken upon, because I think that's critical, especially for the Black photographers. So we'll unpack that. But someone is asking about the impact of the ban and what it did to your brand, if anything.
So I'm still getting a bit of an echo. Maybe I could improve. Like my headphones here.
And let's try now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still getting an echo. Okay, well, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah,
So
let's
tell me
give it a shot without the earphones, because I think it's possible that.
Let's try now.
I'm just gonna try put earphones myself. Maybe it will. Okay, cool. Kuli's question around the boycott and how effective that was.
Yeah, so we took it extremely seriously. For us, the band speaks to our heart, you know. So as a brand, content creation is what the brand is about, and not having it on set, it really did. I understood, but it is nothing we took. We took it extremely seriously. And I've been going around chatting to both media agencies as well as content creators, getting feedback from them, explaining to them, you know, what is our direction going forward, and which led to me coming on your platform. I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't extremely serious, and we didn't take it seriously.
Right. No, I think everyone is saying it's much better, and I guess maybe we can get back to our train of thought. Just for the people that are joining, we've had the CEO of Nikon that is here with us, Grant Norton. We've talked about the industry in terms of black photographers, most specifically, the consequences that have happened to the team that approved the work. We have talked about what further consequences would happen if something like this would happen again. And now we are at a point where we are talking about what is being done practically to make sure that this is corrected, to make sure that the second level of it, what I'd want to find out is how will this benefit black creatives, smaller black-owned, especially black female-owned agencies. So maybe let me break that question into two parts. Just for the purposes of the sound, everyone is saying is much better. So sorry to ask you to repeat yourself, but let's get to the point of what is the way forward after the mistake, because a mistake was made, it offended a lot of people, and you engaged with the creative community. I think they were very clear, including myself, of what we suggest needs to be done. What has happened since then, and what does the future of correcting that mistake look like?
So for us, we did lots of introspection. We had a plan that was underway and going forward, and then we unpacked that. You got to understand that this, with an international brand, this seeked international attention. So we had officers all around the world participating, and then looking at our plan, reviewing it, and many of those elements are still intact, and we've added to it going forward. And the parts that we are adding to have come from the discussions we've had, in terms of the feedback we've received. So we've listened to what people have told us. We've taken it to heart, and we've implemented lots of those going forward. A lot of those initiatives. One of which I can't really disclose, but I know you and I had a discussion around it in terms of how to elevate and uplift the community, how to showcase up and coming content creators. This for us is a cornerstone going forward.
There's a question that says, what were the lessons? Because, you know, as much as this is about Nikon, we want to make sure that the people, that other brand practitioners don't get here. And maybe if you could share some of the lessons in retrospect, that you got from running such a campaign that received this backlash from the community.
So I think the lesson, and the key lesson, is being able to take accountability.
Yeah.
And I think this platform, Veli, that you've got is an incredible one, because we've all got blind spots. We are going to make mistakes, and we need to share and learn from each other. And we need to show, right, this is what went wrong, and this is how we fixed it, and staying humble. And we need to unfortunately take the good and the bad. And when you ask for honest feedback, you have to accept it, and not take it personally. Try and take the emotion out of it, right? And then tackle the issues. Look at the issues, tackle the issues, and get your hands dirty. You'll see that I'm personally getting out there, speaking to content creators, getting a real sense of what's happening at ground level. And I think that is incredibly important for me to not only navigate the business forward, but also feedback to principal officers internationally. And for me, that is critical.
Now, a very vital part of transformation in general is the empowerment of women. And I think in our discussions, I think the key thing that I've been asking is, what is your brand doing to empower women? Firstly, and maybe let's stop with that question, both internally and externally as well, because I think that is a fundamental output. Because we know, when I looked at the video, as much as the biggest thing is that I didn't even see a black woman in that video. So that's something that I would like to know. Is the plan, the transformation plan that you have, also concentrating on women, and how are women benefiting of these plans as a correction of that mistake?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there are many discussions around it, and as recent as it was May this year, when we had interactions with the Lamppost, the luminaries, and for those that are watching that actually aren't familiar with it, it's African content creators, women content creators that they focus on, and they take a group and they uplift them annually. And we saw opportunity there, and we've been in talks, and we actually been working alongside them since May, and it continues to do so. Internally, we've got Mbali, who's basically based, she's our trainer in KZN, has been with us for 7 years. And she's been on an amazing journey with us. When I first met her by Damon Highland, who was in the 21 Icons project, he introduced me to Mbali, and we took her from a young girl, and now she's stepped into her own. I was with her today, actually. And it's amazing to see the confidence that she has, to see how she's grown over the years, which is it's a wonderful thing for us. And we've just recently got involved with Zuzi, and that's something that hasn't just come overnight, but it's something we've been in talks with her for some time now. So, so in terms of who we're affiliating with, it's a dual part. There is obviously an external part from influencers, but internally we have grown, and we are constantly looking out for new opportunity. And I agree with you, women need to form a fundamental part going forward, because I can tell you now from our side, it's lacking in the industry in terms of having a pool of talented African ladies that we can build.
And now you mentioned a few. I mean, you mentioned Bali, you mentioned the other person. I think for an organization as big as yours, we need a more concrete a solution than just singling out maybe a Bali or someone. You know, what goes into the institutionalization of transforming your organization, especially for women? I understand that you've got those isolated cases where you've got Mbali as an output and a few others, but what have you done structurally to make sure that there's a mentorship program that makes sure that there's many people that get into the industry and your company? Because I think it needs to be a bit bigger than just that isolated case, which is good, but I don't think it's near enough. Is there in the future or currently an internship program that is intense to make sure that especially black females get into senior leadership, not just staying as juniors? Because that's another problem we have when we deal with transformation. I think that's important just to hear, because I think a lot of people will have that thought.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you touched on the internship, because it is something that we are now taking to market in terms of getting young, upcoming, vibrant content creators within the business. But as you say, it can't be one-dimensional. I can't just put them in as internships and walk away and say, there's my Band-Aid. We need to have a succession plan. We need to make sure that these key roles within the business, that these individuals can grow into. And as a management team, those positions have been highlighted. And there are various positions throughout the business. And I know you said it's isolated instances that we have been, but I'm going to beg to disagree with you. So yes, those are the few that I've mentioned, but I can tell you now, throughout our business, we have really empowered women, and we'll take it to the next level. We really will take it to the next level. We have isolated positions throughout the business and highlighted positions rather, in order for the succession plan to occur.
I think I'm really focusing on really the long-term benefit and the scalability of the transformation. I think a lot of businesses have got isolated cases of empowerment, but a big organization, I think, needs to have a structure where more people come into the business and more people rise to the top. And I think that is really what we are looking for. Now, when we get on the agency side, part of the discussion was the suppliers, because that creative came from somewhere. That creative was approved by a supplier, and that's where some of the problems are. So when you look at your suppliers, and I think it's something that we've talked about as well, in hunting and making sure that Black female-owned suppliers are given a priority. How are you doing with diversifying your suppliers? I mean, are the people that created the content still your suppliers?
No, so we have diversified, and I think we discussed this when we met previously. Is that how to put a strategy together that actually brings the African ladies into the fold? And I think going forward with our various campaigns, and we've got as recent as a couple of weeks ago, in terms of our own PR agency, we actually brought in a female-empowered agency to assist us to help navigate this next season. Going forward with campaigns, we are going to put it out to market. We are going to put it out to market, encourage the feedback, and definitely welcome those from female-empowered small businesses.
And so you were talking about a diversity plan. Is that approved? Do you have a transformation and diversity plan that you are working towards?
Absolutely. So it is a plan that we have outlined, and we've got our next meeting, which is in end of, I forget month, September now. So it will be proposed end of September to the board in terms of the key position. And you know, it's one thing to establish a plan, but it has to be there has to be certain milestones and a rollout that we need to adhere to. But one thing I just want you to correct you, Veli. I know that people often assume that we're big business, but in essence we are a small business. And I mean, I've got 50 families that depend directly on the business. So I think there may be a misunderstanding on the magnitude or the size of the business locally. And in essence, it is relatively small.
Okay. Now the big thing, and I think it would help other industry brand managers and stuff. What are some of the things that you kind of took for granted before the campaign landed, that you in an organization take very seriously now?
So I think what you know, you sometimes you need the input, and I think that was lacking. Is that we needed additional input, and that was one thing that we will we can't afford to act in isolation,
Mm,
and 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 in doing so, we you know we need to form part of a team and 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 get input from people like yourselves. And that's why I've really valued our interactions lately, in terms of highlighting points for me that potentially it wouldn't have been on my radar. And I really have valued that, and that's something that I will foster going forward and will welcome. Um, and you know, you say that you may be my harshest critic, but I valued your input. I really have, and I will
mm.
continue to do so. I really will.
No, that's, and I think just in expanding to the community of Black photographers, and maybe you can mention a bit of how can more Black photographers get opportunity. I mean, I know you're working with some Black photographers, but if I'm a guy that is a photographer sitting in Soweto right now watching this, how do I get involved? And how do I get some sort of empowerment or help from the Nikon brand? Because as much as we've got a few photographers, how do we broaden it to make sure that we impact as many people as possible? I mean, are there programs? Are there plans to create programs that are more inclusive and are more diverse to include even more people?
So, in terms of getting our awareness, is that please people should use our hashtag I am Nikon SA. As recently as in lockdown, there was a young photographer in Klankla. He was shooting on a D3400, which is, for those of you who don't know, is an entry-level product. And he got our attention by tagging us. And this last week, um, uh, we had further discussions. We looked at his work, and we got him some horrendous product for him to test and to use. And my words to him was, let's see what you can produce. Show us what you can produce. And I look forward to those kind of content creators that aren't the Trevor Stearmans of the world. I understand and I respect his success, but we want to find the guys that are coming out of tertiary institutions. We've partnered with them. We in constant contact with them. VUT, DUT, Vega, Boston. You know, this is something that it's a continuous path that we're fostering in terms of how do we find upcoming talent. And I think for us that is the challenge: is that how do we cast our net? How do we find and 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 see these people's work? Because for us, it's the biggest challenge is in terms of how do we discover new talent? So please,
Mm.
I welcome people. Please tag us, and I also welcome your suggestions. If you have a suggestion, please fire away and say, right, this is how I see it working. These are tactics you can employ. I'll welcome it.
Mm, and that's a very interesting thing, and I think the platforms that you can facilitate. Someone was asking, what is your relationship with the international? Someone was saying that Nikon doesn't have presence here. There are resellers. How can a photographer that has probably made it here go internationally being facilitated by Nikon? Is there an opportunity like that, or are you purely as the premium group just focused on South Africa?
No. So, I mean, we're working with photographers right now, and there's plans in place to elevate them internationally and showcase their work. As you see, there's a massive focus on the African continent, and with 1.2 billion people, there's lots of opportunity. And I understand that we've encountered challenges, but from those challenges, there's lots of excitement and there's lots of opportunity to come. And the content creators that we are discovering, we have plans to escalate them and elevate them internationally, and we definitely have the ability to do so.
You know, there's a comment on the going back to the original mistake, and maybe we must address it, of in your words, because Sipokazi says maybe you don't get the gravity of it, and I'd like to maybe hear in your own words. Maybe we rush past that. On in your own words, as the CEO of Nikon, what really went wrong in that campaign in terms of the execution and how it got there? You know, what went wrong? You know, and people keep on still coming back to that question. And maybe it's people that joined us later, but maybe it's worthwhile because we had sound problems to hear from you. Maybe they didn't hear the answer you gave before. What went wrong in the campaign and what should have been done?
So for us, is that there is a misunderstanding, is that those weren't ambassadors, and I think that was the perception, and that was a miscommunication. It was a badly executed campaign, and I do apologize for it. In terms of what went wrong, is that we had poor communication. That was the most fundamental issue with it, and it wasn't a genuine reflection of our community and of South Africa, and I understand that. And my you know, when I spoke to Austin directly afterwards, I was saddened because it took the limelight away from a really exciting beginning for us, or road with Austin. One that will continue to grow, and because of the poor execution, it overshadowed anything that we were doing at the time and in the short term. So it was a challenge for us, and it was meant to showcase his journey with us, and that campaign was to showcase a particular model as opposed to ambassadors going forward. That wasn't the reason for the video. It wasn't showcasing ambassadors.
Okay, so what were those people that were on those videos, if they weren't ambassadors? A question has come up.
There were Z50 users, and their journey with the product. That was in essence the campaign.
Okay, and then when we talk about the influencers, how does that look, and when are we seeing those? Because I think a lot of the people that I've been talking to want to see that as part of the correction, to say you've made this mistake. I think in your own self-admission, it was poorly communicated. How do you know, going forward, who are the ambassadors? Are they diverse? And when are we seeing them?
So as we speak, it's happening. So it's been something that's been underway since for some time now. It's something that we've been definitely focusing on, and you will see it imminently in the coming weeks. Is that these videos that we've. I was today at a shoot doing a video in terms of bio introductions. We've got a whole rollout plan that will be showcased over the coming months. So it is definitely currently in place, and please, I implore you all to watch and see, because I don't want to sit here and say, listen, we're making all these changes, our plans are, and they're empty. You're going to see change, and it's as soon as the coming weeks.
All right. And then now there was a question earlier on that I also found interesting. And again, I urge people to ask questions. I really don't want this to just be my session. The big thing, we've come to certain conclusions of identifying the mistake. We have chatted about what needs to happen. We have chatted about supplier transformation. Someone asked, you know, a lot of people were disappointed by your brand. A lot of people were hurt. A lot of, especially Black majority, were really hurt about the position as lovers of the brand that you put them in. What are you doing to build trust with those people, with the consumers that you disappointed by making that mistake?
So I think that trust is gained over time and by action. I think it has to be evident in terms of what we do going forward, and people need to resonate with the brand and understand. I think by nature of our products is that it does resonate emotionally with people because it is a creative device. It actually helps. It's a tool to express creativity. So by virtue, people have an emotional response to our brand, which is something that we've loved traditionally. And if you look back at our track record and what we have done, I urge everybody to take a look and actually understand the road and the path that Nikon has covered. And we've got strong roots in terms of building communities, and we'll continue to do so. And we will strive to uncover young, diverse talent. And that is why I'm on this platform, Veli. I'm not hiding. I'm here to tell you, as me, Grant Norton, that I'm here to take accountability, and I'm not going to hide. And we are making actual change, and I urge people to watch and see the steps we are taking.
And I think that's important to get the action behind this thing. Now, I have commended you on your leadership. I've commended you on being able to come onto the table and make sure that you tell your side of the story. Creative Nestlings, which is one of the agencies, is asking how can other agencies, especially smaller agencies, help you guys on your transformation journey?
So I think for me, communication is key. So reach out to us. Yes, we'll be putting out briefs for campaigns going forward, but I mean, the good thing that's come in the last few weeks is that we've had lots of creators reaching out to us and saying, right, this is what you do, this is what we can offer. And if you've got some ideas, please share them with us. You reach out to us and say, listen, I've got this idea, and pitch it to us. I really welcome that. So we very much want to hear your feedback. And if you're a young agency out there that is hungry, make yourself known. You know, reach out to us.
I guess we've covered a lot of the issues. Is there anything else maybe you might want to say before we take maybe the last few questions in terms of your overall positioning to make sure that, one, you win the trust of the people, and one, your commitments that you've shared on transformation? What would you say to the people that are listening right now about this whole journey that we've come at to culminate in us talking to the people that were highly offended by the work?
You know, for me is that as much as their feedback was harsh at times and tough, I thank them. You know, it shows that the brand resonates with them, and that for me was incredible. Is that the Nikon brand has evoked lots of emotion, And I want to channel that emotion and utilize that in terms of being part of the solution and driving it forward. And right now is an incredible opportunity as a continent. And I would really like everybody out there to understand where this continent stands at the moment. It's a focus globally, and what's happening with Beyonce and on the global scale is incredible. Is absolutely incredible, and is a massive opportunity. And please contact us, show us your work, um, uh, open up conversation, and put us to the test. Put us to the test. I'm not saying we can take everybody on board, because that's just unrealistic. But, but we want the engagement.
And I mean, not obviously maybe your personal email address, but how do they contact you? Who do they talk to? Is there an info? What are the details? So I'm a young photographer. I'm sitting there. I'm wanting to do something. How do I get in contact with you? And how do I make sure that I get the opportunities?
Fantastic. So you can use our hashtag, I am Nikon SA. Alternatively, if you want to drop us a mail, info@premiumgroup.co.za, you're welcome to fire away there. Otherwise, we've got social media. You can use direct messages on our social media. A lot of people engage with us in that manner, and have recently, in fact. So please, you utilize these avenues to engage, showcase your work, and keep creating, and keep being passionate. I think for me that's a wonderful thing to see.
And I'm seeing comments, and I think quite valid. People appreciating the conversation. Label Line says, I appreciate the conversation. It's a step in the right direction. Someone was commending you on your bravery to be able to come on live social media and represent your views, which shows intent. And I think the apology is sincere. But now, besides the apology, I think it's now time for action. And I think the next few weeks will be the ones that are put proof to the pudding. But I mean, personally, I would like to commend you as well on being able to come to this platform, being able to face the public and face the mistakes that you have. Now, looking at the landscape, looking at brands that are untransformed, that are making these mistakes, since you've gone through the fire of social media, you've gone through the fire of being called out for a non-diverse, non-inclusive work, what is your parting advice to brand owners and brand custodians that haven't transformed or don't take transformation seriously?
So I think you need to keep talking, and you need to be susceptible. You need to listen, and you need to take lessons that we already had. So for me personally, you have to be humble, and as I said earlier, you have to take the good with the bad. And unfortunately, when we've got prominent global brands like this, we are on the forefront, and we are under scrutiny. And it doesn't mean that we can't be criticized, and we need to take those criticisms and take out the noise and get to the real issues. I think once you can establish the real issues and then build a plan that actually addresses those issues, is when you get trust that you're talking about earlier from the community. And that is something I can promise you now that we will do, and it is something that we are striving every day to regain that trust. And I sincerely apologize for breaking that trust. I really do. And I'm here, and I can guarantee you that I'll give everything I've got in terms of winning back that trust. because for me, with trust comes integrity and transparency. And I hope that a small token by sitting here illustrates that. I really do.
No, Grant, I think it's a big token. I think very few CEOs will come on a live platform after making such a big stuff up. I was talking earlier that some people choose the direction of having lawyers send letters, and I think the owning up to your mistakes will put you in good stead. We'll be looking and we'll be watching for the future of your brand. We are excited to see the new influencers. On the agency side, you've already got a PR agency that is Black owned. We need more Black female owned suppliers. We're looking out to hear that as well. Commend you for your leadership and wish you the best in transforming your organization from the top. Someone in parting was asking about a schools program. I think you mentioned it a bit, and I think maybe it's a student. What is that schools program about, and how can people join it?
So in essence, straight off the bat, I mean, it's an initiative that Nikon have pioneered through the years. And what we do is we offer discount for students that are currently studying in full-time courses. On all our mirrorless camera, you get 20% off on all our mirrorless range. Over and above that, we have aligned ourselves with tertiary institutions, VUT, DUT. We go to the open days. We showcase our product. I mean, as early as last week, we were talking to institutions in terms of how do we partner, how do we single out those students that are excelling and give them an opportunity in order to come in and get an international platform that we can offer.
No, thank you. And just my last question, and it's something that I've personally wondered. So I'll ask this question: How did it take you so long, or take your team so long to delete that tweet after realizing that it had offended people? And you've got 20 seconds to answer this.
Sorry. Something that we carefully considered, and it wasn't something we do in isolation. We have got international protocols we need to follow, and we wanted to make sure that we responded correctly. And I know that it was criticized, but a lot of work